What is up, Motorfest racers? It is I, your wheelman, Alex Cornnut. I'm here today with the Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX Face Off. We have got the Star Edition versus the Stock Edition. I've got lap times to back up what we think is faster, and I've got some information for you guys to hopefully kind of clue you into what is the best setup for this car and get you going fast in the grand race. Let's show you first the Stock Edition, and then I'll show you the setup for the Star Edition. As we tab into the game here, I want to show you guys some of the vanity items with the regular edition that you can do. There's a lot you can do from the visual standpoint on this car. Make sure that you guys are throwing on a set of wide fenders there. It's kind of a bummer because if you do the wides, it actually takes away from like the graphic, and so I don't know, you can do the carbon ones or the regular ones, but it's going to make every graphic you put on there like not fit correctly, and that's kind of a bummer. The other thing that I do want to like touch on that I think is really cool with the stock one is the soot on the rear bumper there. With some of the exhaust, you can actually like see that, and I think that that is super cool. I had one of these, and if you own a turbo car, you know what that's about. If you only run naturally aspirated, you probably won't have a lot of soot on the back, but with a turbo car, it's either running rich in the lower RPMs, so that way when you add boost, it runs right where it needs to, or it runs lean under boost, and so that's like a lean condition. It's not good, you're running hot. But for the most part, a lot of turbo cars kick out a lot of soot out of the exhaust, and so that's a cool touch. I like that a lot. It's pretty sweet. And if you're picking up the car, guys, grab yourself one of the Cornnut crew liveries. We've got a few. You'll see that it doesn't actually fit on the car when you do those wide body kits. That's a brand new one that came out just the other day. I love that. We're gonna slap that one on right now. And then we've got Leia. She did one, and there's just a couple of really cool ones from different people. So if you're gonna tune the car, grab one of those for yourself. All right, let's get into the pro settings. That's what you guys are here for. So for the regular edition GSX, final drive all the way long. That way you've got the highest top speed in the grand race, and this one's got a good top speed. It'll do mid 190s in street tier 1, which is pretty fast. Power distribution, you're going to fade that to the front 46%. Grip 100% both front and rear. Brakes 45% to the rear, you're going to fade that more to the back. Brake power 100%. For the aero, it's 100% front, and then in the rear, two options. If you want it to be a little slidier, back that off to maybe 6%, 8%, something like that. I like to have a little more load in the rear, so that way it's a little more grippy, but it understeers a little bit, but I felt it to be more controllable for myself. So if you want it to be a little rowdier, just back off the load in the rear just a skosh and do maybe -6, maybe -8%. That's what SakuraCommander runs, but that's the only difference between where him and I are at on this. For me, I like to run it at 0, so just play with that slider, see what you think. For the suspension, we're going to go +7 in the front, +8 in the rear. For the damper compression, you're going to go -13% in the front and +9 in the rear. For the rebound, you're going to go -9 front, +12 rear. And then for the anti-roll bars, which is your ARB, you're going to go +7 in the front and +10 in the rear. And then for the alignment, which is your camber, you're going to go -0.25 full Beyonce to the left on both of those front and rear. That sets up the car to be pretty sturdy. Check out the gameplay footage I have after this. I've got it running around the test track. They're both good in their own right, and it's a unique situation that we've got. So I'll save. I don't want to spoil nothing, so just check that out, and then you can see the kind of the recap after that here in a minute. Let me show you what we've got for the Star Edition. Star Edition isn't before us here, and when it comes to the customization, you can do vanity stuff only, like tires, smoke, stuff of that nature, and then livery options. There are some out there. We don't have any Cornnut crew ones slapped on here just yet, but there is nothing you can do from the visual part standpoint. So what you see on the body is what you're going to get. Although it does look pretty cool. I do like that wide body on there. Alright, for the pro settings on this one, it is a lot different from the base model, so make sure you're checking in there. Final drive all the way long, and then power distribution is 47%, so just slight changes there. Grip is 100% front and rear, and then brake balance, you're actually going to fade it to the front on this car, so you're 65% on the front side of things. Brake power is 100% as we do. Aero, same deal. 100% on the front, and then in the rear, if you want to slide it out a little bit, SakuraCommander was running like negative 11% on this one, or negative 9. It just depends on what kind of you're wanting to do. So just take a little load out of the back if you want to rotate a little bit and slide on you. I really was trying to get it to be as grippy as possible, so I'm running it 100% load front and rear. For the suspension, you're going to go plus 8% stiff in the front and plus 10% in the rear, so we do stiffen this car up a lot. For the damper compression, you're going to go minus 10% front and plus 8% in the rear. For the rebound, you're going to go negative 7% in the front and plus 12% in the rear. And then for the ARB, that's your anti-roll bars, you're going to go plus 6% in the front and plus 10% in the rear. Camber, negative 0.25% in the front and negative 0.11 in the rear. So not quite as much camber in the back on this one. Sets the car up to be pretty sturdy, pretty predictable. Like I said, check out the test track. The results kind of surprised me. This car accelerates really good. I found that to be kind of the big perk of the Star Edition, is it just gets off the line a little better. So if you're starting in Street Tier 1 as the first class in the Grand Race, this one might be the better option for you. But once again, I think if you tune them both up, you'll have a preference and you're good there. Shout out to my man SakuraCommander. He tuned up both of these and we worked together to kind of find out what we liked more, and I added a little bit more to the rear to make them a little less slidey. But at the end of the day, he really helps me hone these in, and I'm very thankful to him. And thank you to Unk RC, the man putting the beats behind all the tracks. I appreciate him as well. Alright guys, stay tuned for the test track footage and then recap at the end. And I will see you guys on the track. We'll see you next time. Join me on stream. I stream pretty much every day, Monday through Friday. 8 p.m. Central Time till whenever we get off. Usually it's a 4-hour stream. We go all night. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm trying to get to 10K subs before the end of the year. That's my goal. I'd appreciate you guys to help on that. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Test track GSX Eclipse Stock Edition. Let's see what it does. I have an expectation that it's going to be 246, 247, because that is what I have been running for a majority of my tests with this car. It's a little slower on the test track. And you go, well, it must not be as good in Street Tier 1 as the other cars. Wrong. There is a methodology here where we're setting and doing laps and testing and trying to find out how fast the car does around the track. But like I've told you guys plenty of times before, we use this track as a setup, a base, to find out what it's going to do when it bounces over curbs, find out how it handles when I hang 2 tires in the dirt, those things. Being fast on the test track does not mean that you're fast in the Grand Race, and that's something that a lot of people are not always listening to or not really paying attention when I say that. And so what this car does that a lot of other cars do not do, especially when it comes to the Grand Race, is they have a really good draft top speed. This Eclipse will do easily mid 190s, like 194, 195 in the draft. And I'm not sure what the Star Edition does because I didn't get a chance to really get a good draft on the Grand Race yet. But for that reason, this car will present as being slower on the test track. But then when we get into the Grand Race, you're like, oh, that thing slaps, and that's because it does. So just bear that in mind, you guys, as you drive around and as you look at some of these cars I use on the test track. This is just one piece of data, and it does not tell the whole story. There's a lot of people that won't ever get the full story because they don't sit here, like you awesome dudes and ladies, and actually listen to some of the explanation as I go around the track. We had a pretty good lap 1. This car, there's 2 different ways to set it up like SakuraCommander does. And one has a little less aero taken out of the rear. That allows the car to slide a little more. I didn't really care for that one so much because I was just sliding kind of everywhere. This one's a lot more planted. It's a little more understeery, but planted. And so that being the case, I think it's better. I'm more consistent with it, that's for sure. I'm a lot faster around the track. Well, I say a lot faster, like 2 seconds. But regardless, 2 seconds. It's weird, there's usually a black sedan that's parked on that corner back there, and it wasn't there on lap 2. So we were able to take a really nice tight line, which is going to give us a little bit better lap. as we cross the line. 245.8. That's pretty good, and that's right in line with what the other Street Tier 1 cars are doing. So I think we had a little bit of an advantage on that last lap. With that sedan not being there, I was able to take a little nicer line. That gained us 2-3 tenths pretty easy. But overall, our best lap is in line with a 119. That's right around where some of the other cars are doing. 245.8 is right in line with the other Street Tier 1 cars. So this isn't going to sell you short on the short track, but it does have that longer legs. Let's see what the Star Edition does. Let's be a star in our Eclipse GSX Star Edition. Watch the launch on this one. This car's 0 to 100 metric is pretty good. It's got that early acceleration. It's quick. We'll see how it does overall around the track. I've been struggling to get clean, consistent laps with this car. It took me about 10 tries to get 2 clean laps with the regular stock one. And so I'm doing lots of the same thing with this one because I really want to do 2 laps that are similar to one another, to where that way it's the car that's really, you know, pulling through the corners or doing whatever. I had a really wild lap with this one at one point, set a great time, but I went back and watched the footage and it wasn't even close. Like, I had scuffed some lines and got kind of lucky on one part, and I was like, yeah, I can't use that because it was an exception to the rule. It wasn't like a real good lap, I guess you could say. I mean, it was a great lap, but it wasn't, from a scientific perspective, like, that was results I had to throw out. And so instead of putting it in the video and really fluffing this car up in a way that would be unreasonable, I had to not do that. Alright, let's see how we come through here. So far, I have confidence in this particular lap. It's feeling pretty good, feeling pretty consistent. And I think I'm doing a lot of extra work, and it's really just for me because I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys real data. But at least I, with confidence, can be like, hey, I put in a bunch of laps. I know for sure what both cars are looking like. Back there, I timed if I cut that corner or if I cut straight through the grass, and it's worth about a tenth cutting through the grass, but it's considerably more consistent. Like, it does me considerably better when it comes to actually going through there smooth. We lost a few tenths there with the way that I took that corner. Anytime you see the lightning coming off the tires, we're losing time. Black sedan was gone on lap 2. That's good. That's what happened with the other footage that I got with the Eclipse. So we might have some really good comparisons here. $245.7. That's funny because that puts both of these cars dead nuts even, pretty much, like within margin of error kind of thing. But I felt like this one accelerates better. The lap times are in front of us. The results are kind of surprising, so you need to take away from this what you can. We definitely different ways to look at it. The Star Edition ran 1/10 faster than the stock edition, so it did a 245.7, but our best lap was a 120.4. The stock did a 145.8, but its best lap was a 119.5. So for a lap-to-lap comparison, the stock edition is about a second faster per lap. But for the acceleration, which would be the first lap and that launch, the Star Edition is making up that time in the early game because it's slower per lap, but has a similar lap time, even a little bit faster. So I would say in a grand race setting, if you are starting in Street Tier 1, you might start with the Star Edition because it's going to launch better, allow you to get in front of some people and then carry that through. If Street Tier 1 is your second or third car setup in the playlist, you may run the stock one. At the end of the day, both cars are similar, but they've got strengths and weaknesses. I didn't expect this. I expected one to just blow out the other, but they're really both very similar on their lap times. but they make up their time in different spots. So that's pretty cool. I would say run them both if you want. If you had to pick one, I'd probably pick the Star Edition. But regardless, this was a fun comparison. They're both really similar to one another, so go with what you feel. But that's the data that I've got for us. Hopefully it helped you out. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.